Welcome to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Hello, everyone out there. Hope you're enjoying our lovely lockdowns, or at least hopefully you're able to get out, which is a little bit more lenient now. So, hope you're enjoying having good sex, making babies. Of course, that is if you want a baby. So do discuss that first. And I know it's come to the point where, you're trying to figure out ways in which to basically renew yourself, because you're home. There's only so much you can do, within the four walls. And, getting cabin fever there. And all of that good stuff that goes on. And I know it's kind of hard for some people. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, because it is. But sex should never take a back seat from that of the one you love, or at least want to be with. So, with that being said, there are keys to to having amazing sex. And it is there. And it doesn't always happen in the bedroom. You gotta kind of sort of take it outside of the bedroom. And that is a very good combination of teamwork between you and your mate, or your prospective mate. One you're just looking at. Being outside and being still able to communicate and have that connection and everything else that goes along with it makes for just being in the bedroom and having that amazing sex all that much better, because you don't really have to think, and you really don't have to feel as though you're, obligated to that, which you should never feel as though you are, because you're not. And we are going to start off with some ways to work that teamwork right on in there. So, on that note, let's get this party started and talk sex. Now, remember, when, we look at things, we kind of have a tendency to combine everything under one little header, like life problems. We put everything under that particular title without looking and separating it out, because life problems are life problems and sex problems are something else. They might have, granted you might be a little stressed, but that's something that you can work on And like I said, having like outrageous sex in the bedroom takes teamwork outside of the home, not only inside but outside. A lot of songs out there that sing to that, so remember that as well. And one key way of doing this is really clarify your roles. You have to know when, you and your wife or you and your partner each have different roles. And knowing those roles are very much key, and knowing how they fit in your life and how you go about your everyday life, knowing where you stand, what is here, there, and everywhere else. I mean, it's one thing to just go out and get what's it called, a new toy from the sex shop, the sex store, shall I say. In the home, I mean, one clear example is when you're in the home. Not, okay, I came home and you expect from your partner or your wife. Know that it is an equal partnership in the home, knowing that, if you come home and you say, all right, well, I'll help you with the dishes tonight. Well, that's splitting it down, instead of always thinking that the woman is to be barefoot, pregnant, and in the home and take care of the house, so that when you get home, all you gotta do is sit there, request sex, and she does it for you. Or he. Now, there are those people out there that still basically think that way. It is not a good way to think, and you won't get sex these days with that thought process. So you really need to decide on what it is that and how you want to basically have your relationship with your partner, which will ultimately end in very good sex, because they'll be happy to be with you, happy to please you as you will them. And I mean, there was one, it's really like an old way of thinking of it, because men can't have children. Well, nowadays that's a little different, but a lot goes into it. But women were always the person that has the children, and you will get it where some men will say, oh no, after what she's been through to have the kids, oh God, no, I probably couldn't do that. And that's probably true. That is a lot on a woman. And with that comes the great respect of the woman from the men, who actually, know what to say and do. And they will, they'll tell you right then and there that, oh no, I watched what my wife was going through, or my girlfriend was going through, or whoever it was you were with who had your baby. It does your body. That's a lot. You got a woman who is having your child. That's two people. She's now using her body for two people. And then if anybody has been out and has been able to see a woman give birth in person, yes, you can watch it on TV. Or even on YouTube. Nowadays, it's always everywhere. But seeing it firsthand actually gives you a different perspective on it, especially if there is complications. If your meat has complications with it, because you never know how hot or easy that's going to be. until you get in there, or at least, some complications come much earlier than that. And if you have, there is a book out there, especially if you're married, it's called The 80-80 Marriage. And, it's basically what exactly the highest level, the couples that are noted in it actually discuss their highest level of conflict and how they're adopting roles and responsibilities, and they're not just, a lot of people out there and a lot of couples out there are just winging it. Not good to do, because it doesn't exactly leave you with a good, what's it called? A good downfall whenever you are faced with conflict. Because if you're winging it, well, you're just like, when it comes, it comes. And you're not really thinking beyond that, how it could be better in the bedroom, basically. You're just looking at it from that point of view, and only that point of view. So remember that it takes a lot more than just saying, we're just winging it. When we get to that, we'll get to that. No, it has nothing to do with that. It has a lot to do. And that's really going to be where it comes for sex. You're going to really wish that you took that time to not wing it and work together. Don't divide the roles in your relationship. Coming up with things together, sitting down and communicating makes sex that much more amazing. On top of that, it solidifies your bond with your partner, because you talked about it and you got things off your chest. You define some things, and you're a little bit more, both of you are better off, because now you know what, when, why, how, or at least right then and there, and how to go forward and to work on that. Putting some structure in there and being able to take on that structure, it really makes you a very strong person. It gives you a lot of interest out there, putting them out there, letting each other know what those are. And really being able to balance everything, your workload, your home life, your sex life, knowing who you are in the home. Yes, you are the male or you are the female, but it doesn't mean that you've got to go backwards to have awesome sex and think that, you deserve it because you went out all day long and worked. So when you come home, your mate should always have food on the table for you, or the house cleaned and the kids taken care of, and have them quiet when you get there. That's not how it works. It takes a lot of teamwork. And a lot of people nowadays, just kind of sort of go into marriage to get divorced because they know that's what's going to happen. They don't exactly even put a lot into it. I think the whole idea of being married, there's a lot more to it than that. And sex is one of those important features in that list. But, when you get married, you're saying you're going to take on this whole thing. It's just not like, okay, well, I'm going to go over to, my partner's house today, or they're going to come over here. I'll cook dinner for them. And it's that one time of that deal. That's not how it kind of sort of works. Yes, two different things there. But I mean, if you have been with somebody for up to years and you've lived as a married couple, well, then you still get that feeling here and there. And that teamwork, and building that teamwork outside of the home, inside and outside of the home, I would say. A lot of people say outside, but a lot of it does come from outside, because when you leave the house, is the test of what happens beyond those doors. You're separated, doing what you need to do and everything like that. So remember that. Another key to having amazing sex is reveal your resentment. All right. Now, it is, a lot of people have resentment towards their partners. And with that resentment comes that not really feeling connected in the bedroom, they don't do it for you because you have resentment. Don't hold those feelings in, and because, not for nothing, you take all of your anger, all your resentment, all of that stuff you're feeling towards your partner, you're bringing it into the bedroom, and now you're associating that with sex like it's a chore. And that's not what sex should be. You should be having very much enjoyable sex with your partner. And on that note, we are going to take our first break in the show. And when we come back, we will continue, starting with lovely resentment and how not to bring it into the bedroom so that we can continue on with amazing sex. So, get your drink, get your snack, come back, get relaxed, and I will meet you back here for more sex talk with Andra.
Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra. We have the topic about sex. This is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back. Now, we are discussing amazing sex that takes teamwork outside of the house, outside of the home, outside of the bedroom. Remembering that life problems are life problems and sex is something totally else. And knowing how to separate those things out, by clarifying your roles in your relationship. And, you might laugh at it with clarifying your roles. Yes, that's the woman. She should be on top of me and doing me. I'm the man. It's not like that nowadays. Years and years ago, probably. Nowadays, not so much. It's a little bit more a partnership. There are still individuals out there that do think in that manner. And if that works for you, that works for you. And kudos. However, for most of America nowadays, that does not work. So we're moving along. We left off where we were talking about resentment of your partner, or basically any negative vibes. But that overall resentment towards your partner is a total buzzkill in the bedroom. Because once you get in there, either sex becomes a chore, or you just can't get it up, or can't get wet. And it becomes that chore where you're just doing it to do it, when it should be this amazing bonding and trusting and let loose on your partner. sexually, just to let your inhibitions go. And that's not what you're getting. That resentment, which is probably brought up by some anger that you're feeling towards your partner. And with that, you become out of sync with each other, especially in the bedroom, whereas before you can really feel it, because sex is one of those acts that's supposed to bring you closer together, emotionally bonding, intimacy, all of that stuff is all wrapped up. Being able to speak, talk about these things and getting this all outside and talking about it and how you're feeling allows you to get rid of your frustrations and lifts a lot off your chest, because if your partner really cares for you, or that person really wants to be with you, sitting there having that conversation, they will be very understanding, which will allow you to get all of that off your chest, where it's like now you probably just want to, oh my goodness, let's go in the bedroom and I'll just do you up against every wall, because now you have that erection that is wicked, wicked hot, or you're really, really wet and turned on. No blames or criticisms, because that makes it worse. Always give your emotional, truly heartfelt, emotionally feelings and expression. And I mean, when you go into the house, now you're behind closed walls, 4 walls, and you're kind of sort of feeling closed in. So a lot of that resentment, a lot of that frustration is coming in there. And you see things that bother you or irritate you a little bit more are revealed. So you got to know how to get up and say, okay, that drives me crazy. How come you do it? Why don't we try this? Or I feel this way every time I come into the house. And because 10 to 1, the first thing on your mind is going to be that sex, or you won't want to be bothered with it, because you are equating all your emotional aspects and life problems and intertwining them with your sex problems, which should be so totally different. You will get that couple out there that will come and say to you, oh, my sex life is great. Amazing in the bed. We did this last night. She sat on my face, or he sat on my face, whatever the case may be. But then when you say, well, what are you just doing this weekend? They're like, oh no, I really don't know why we bothered. So you see where is it you need to work on this, because after a while, that amazing sex is going to be affected by that humdrum feeling of frustration, resentment, or anger, all that stuff that's on your head or in your head that's annoying you. It could be the littlest thing that person does. The way they sit and clip their toenails. Who's to say? So you need to remember that. Another key to having great and improving and amazing sex is create space. Because this is all outside. These are all the things you need to do outside, because if you're happy outside, you're happy inside your partner. And, you know what to look forward to when you come home, and you're like, oh, can't wait to get in the bedroom. Can't wait. The kids aren't going to be there tonight. If you have kids, I can start when I go through the door. I'm just going to pull my pants down and bend my partner over, and there we go. So really, create a space for you. It's very good to have. And knowing that and having that is something to look forward to. I mean, we all have modern problems, especially the biggest one that's out there that's affecting everybody in the world for the most part, which is the COVID, which is creating even more frustration on what we've already had. or have going on in life. So imagine the sex frustrations and things that are going on. Granted, in some respects, this probably was a helping hand to some couples because they probably were stretched out work-wise and being forced to, hey, you're in the house, you're quarantined, everybody's doing it, there are curfews on, stores are closing early. Now, you're home. This might be your way of now expressing and slowing down, and that sex is probably, you got all this stuff built up, and boom, it's like a freaking fireworks show in the bedroom. So there might be that. Now, if there's like no space in your relationship, those demands on work, if you have kids, raising them. If not, you don't have to worry about that demand. Obviously, like I said, the pandemic is wreaking a bit of havoc. Okay, so more than we would like it to do, but nonetheless, it is doing that. And all of this, you still have to find a way to get money in to the household. Working remotely, which kind of sort of is kind of hard nowadays because now you're in your home 24/7 for the most part. Whereas before, at least getting out to the office, you got a break from the home, a break from everything that's there. So now you're inside of the home. And this is what is happening. So you have, and overall managing that household, because now you're in the house and you are actually, believe it or not, actually expected to do your part in helping because you're home. When you're at work and you're away from the home, well, you didn't have to worry about that. Now you do. So that's going to add more on you. That's something new for you that you didn't have to do. It's also taking up a lot of, when I say create space, it's taking up the space that you already had, that you have for your intimacy, your bonding, the eroticism, to flourish, the over amazing sex. Now that it's starting to overlap, and you don't want this. Obviously, there's so much out there right now. You can intertwine that into your lifestyle. It doesn't just have to be the single who are out there doing that dating thing. You can turn your relationship and play it that way with your partner. And, make believe that they're calling you or they're emailing you and you're right in the house, you're right downstairs. And they're talking sexually to you, or you're talking it like it's all, you're doing your first meet and greet with your partner all over again. And remembering how amazing that was. So finding that spontaneity and being able to dedicate some time for having space in time with your significant other or your potential significant other, sex, dating, whatever, put it aside and say, hey, on this day, this is what's happening. Don't waver from that plan. Stick with that plan, because that is where you're going to be so much, you're allowing that to be part of your life, and you're not allowing these life issues to overpower everything that goes on. And you may have to do that. Making sure the kids are going to be watched. If you have an old enough child who can babysit the children, then you two can go out. If you need to ask somebody to babysit, like your parents, kids' grandparents, obviously, so that you could just have even if you stayed in the house, ordered some takeout to come in, delivery, and doing that is still creating space for you and your partner or your potential partner to have that space and be able to let loose and have sex and canoodle and do what you want. Like basically have wild sex, work, play out your role playing, work on that foreplay, masturbation, do whatever, dual masturbation, who cares? But it allows you that time. Now moving right along. Now the last key is how it explains a shift from individual to shared success, meaning it's no longer about you individually. It's about you and your partner in sharing that responsibility. We taught early on in life that we must share our toys. People still don't share their toys. But we are taught that. And when it comes to a relationship, it's not any different for the most part, but there is no competition there. And don't allow for that jealousy or anything to stand within that. So now, I love the example that they give is if your partner gets a promotion at work, it's not just their promotion, it's your promotion too, because you are a partnership. So celebrate like a partnership. Get everything ready. Maybe surprise them when they walk through the door and have the table all set up. Congratulations, balloons, all of this stuff. And you're standing there butt naked. So, you're standing there naked. I don't think the food is going to last, but if, and only if, you could sit on the opposite side of the table, still naked, have dinner. Your partner's going to have a little bit of a problem being able to sit there and watch you. They're going to want to just climb over the table and just jump on you. But you got to maintain it because this is where you're building that up and stuff. So the successes that happen in your life, especially if you're already in a relationship or you're already married, is shared. If you're with a potential partner, it's somewhat shared. You're allowing them to be there and to be part of that. So yeah, there is some sharing in there. And that even brings you closer and closer to that. So really knowing who you are, being able to use that within your relationship to build your sex life, because you need to know how to separate the two lives and then work the whole thing as a partnership. And when you can do that, sex is going to be shabam. You can do basically anything you want, and the most thing that's going to stick in your head is how the hell you got that done and how good sex was, even better. On that note, we're going to take a break here. So replenish your drink, replenish your snack, come back, get relaxed, or if you have enough in the first round, just sit and remain comfortable, because I will be back for more sex talk with Andra.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back. I hope you guys are comfortable, because we are still talking about sex. And having amazing sex takes teamwork. And sex is a team sport. Look at it that way. A lot of you people out there are into sports, so start looking at sex as a team sport and what satisfactions that you want from it and how to get that satisfaction. Obviously, you need to know how to work as a team to have better and more enjoyable sex, and being able to have it successfully. Remember, your sports teams are working as a team to win those goals for you, to become those champions for their fans. So, why can't your sex and working as a team with your partner work basically the same? You have the same goals in there, and working it that way. Now you need to, know what the end goal is. And I don't just mean orgasm, people. There's a lot more out of it, because if you are in a steady relationship or you are married, once you leave the bedroom, you have life things that you have to do, and then you go home to that person. So, being a team is a way of maintaining and, even lifting your sex satisfaction. Now, when you're looking at a team and how that team functions, football, baseball, hockey, you name it, what are some of the key things that those athletes have to do to be successful in what they're doing? One is a concentration there, but they have to make sure they're working with their teams. They're team players. But remember to breathe. There is so much oxygen out there, although we are cutting down way too many trees, and trees actually produce oxygen, so you might want to back off from that. But obviously, oxygen is key to keep the blood flowing. You have to have the oxygen to maintain good breathing. Obviously, that's kind of sort of simple. We are breathing right now. What are we breathing? Oxygen. Very easy. But because it is so easy that we forget to sit back and actually think about it when you breathe that air. Same thing happens when it becomes intertwined with the romance, the intimacy, the bonding, the sex in your relationship. We have a tendency to forget that if you just take that step back and realize, wow, when you breathe, take that deep breath in, and then look at your partner sitting there and wondering, well, I got it good. Appreciate it. This is what your partner did for you. Think about the things that your partner did for you. If it's just that day, even go in the past, there are so many things, and your partner needs to do the same thing. Like I said, sex is a team sport. So, in working as a team, you take our responsibilities individually, and knowing, doing something nice for your partner is also doing something nice for you. But don't look at it in that way. Don't look at it as, oh, geez, if I do this, I'll get a blowjob tonight. No, don't look at like you're just doing that to get that. Look at it more as you're just doing it out of the kindness of your heart because you're thinking of them. That's the advantage to it, and that's how working as a team, helps you to work better as a team with your teammate or teammates. You got to figure out what works for both of you and what's benefit of working together as a team, especially in the sexual bedroom. So, another one is take some turns. It's not always needing to be don't hog the ball, especially in basketball. Don't hog the ball. Same thing as sex. Don't hog it. Don't always be that person that's getting the most out of that sex act. You have a partner there, obviously. Unless, of course, you're masturbating. You do have a partner there. And let them have a turn. Let them express who they are in the bedroom. So what? You've been with them this length of time. So much you know different things of what to do. Let them show you something new about them. Because it's every day you learn something new. The littlest things will show you that. But trade off. Have turns. Let them have a say. Let it, speak your team plan there. Now, this one's pretty big with everything. Rules. There are rules. Come on. Rules. Every team has to follow the rules in the game, or they will be disqualified. Don't you think that's the same with sex? There are rules. You overstep that rule or don't follow it, you are not getting laid. So remember that, and some of those rules are obviously communicate clearly, setting your expectations. Obviously, consent. You have to have consent. Those are rules. Educate yourself on these. You can put that in there as a rule, but that should be learn as much as possible about change and what's this going to do and how this goes. Because it's also a growing process, because that opens doors sexually that you didn't even know existed. You didn't even know that your partner was willing to do. So remember, it opens up a whole new orgasm for both of you and enjoyment in that. Always set some goals. And really, the whole idea, if you set a goal, commit to that goal. Don't just set it and be like, see you later, love you, bye-bye. That's not good. Always, what do they do when they get back into the locker room? They talk about, the good plays and the bad ones. Where they need to improve at, because they learned all these things from the other team as they were playing it. You will learn new things where you can improve on from each other. This is how that, you're setting that game plan. But in order to set that game plan, you got to find out how that's going to work and how you can get it to work and what you need to change or improve. Same thing with your partner. What's the biggest thing in sports? In order to be good at the sport or in anything in life is practice, and more practice. Obviously, practice makes perfect. We all know this. But practice it. It might take a few sessions of masturbating, a little solo play in there by yourself, to practice and to find out if it works or doesn't work. You might be, you may have had sex the night before and you're right in the middle of it. They did something. Your partner did something while you're in there. And you're not exactly sure if you liked it. Go back, try to recreate it during a solo session. And do it a couple of times. Masturbate a couple of times. See if you like it. You may just find out that you actually do, but you figured out how it would satisfy you. Now bring that to the team. Laying it up to the game plan. And work it in. Obviously, when you play, these teams play, what do you play for? To win? Hello? Sex. You have sex to get the goal of orgasm. Get the biggest one. So you gotta work at it. You gotta play it like you mean it, or work it like you mean it, shall we put it? And there are a lot of things that come with that, but going through all motions, good or bad, and working them out might be a new move in the bedroom. Who's to say? But working through that. And working through this and finding out and trying new things, or working out this team, getting this whole team partnership going there, you're going to increase your skill set. Why do you think you masturbate, or why they tell you to masturbate? Because you are increasing your skill set, learning new moves. Teams usually go into the locker room or have a team meeting later on where they'll watch a replay of the game to point out here how they did, the other team then this. Maybe we can do this, make up new game plays in the playbook so that they're better. But watching it, before you go on video, make sure that the both of you really want it videoed. But if you want to do it another way, just pay attention to what's going on during sex. Because this way, one, you don't get in the habit of doing the same thing over and over again. Because you kind of sort of get boring with that. But being able to hone in on those skills and being able to try something new. And, that first time trying it out, you're either going to have the partner like it and not say a word and just be in total ecstasy of it all and continue with amazing moanings and groanings. Or they may get up and say, what the heck was that? Tell them. Talk it out. I tried this. I wanted to try this new thing. Do you like it? Don't you like it? Improve your skill set. You know who you are. You know how your body works. You're bringing this skill set to it. The team, the table, to look at it, to work it in with your teammate, which is your sex mate, and work it out. Because that's what it's there. Because next time they'll stop and say, let's try that. Because that's in their head now. So, obviously with all teams, when they are reviewing the good and the bad of the game, there are always successes and there are always failures in the playbook that need to actually need to be relooked at. Because if it's not working, you have to basically find a way to, you might have to take something out of there and not do it again. Find another way. So, who's to say that play is going to work in the bedroom? Obviously, the important thing is communicate. We all know this. Communicating allows your team player, your sex player, your sex teammate to know the play, to know your expectations of that play in the bedroom, and how this will open up so much doors because each one of you know what you're expecting from one another in the bedroom. even if it's something new you're trying, communicate it. Gives those expectations. If it doesn't work, you don't do it again. But at least you communicated, you tried it. There you go. On that note, I'm going to take the final break in the show. So, completely up to you if you want to get a drink, if you want to get a snack, some more, or just stay right where you're at with your hands down your pants. Ooh, that's cares. It's totally up to you. We are talking sex here. And I will meet you back for the final segment in the show. And continuing on, as sex is a team sport. So remember that. If you love sports, this is not a hard thing for you to work in. So Andra will meet you back here for more sex talk.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Andra, where the topic about sex is from the point of view of an older woman. Welcome back to the final portion of today's show, where we are discussing, putting teamwork into sex. It is. If you want to have amazing sex, you got to work a little teamwork in there. Working, play it like a sport. Sometimes working your life as a sport works because it's playing in terms that are understandable. There is no I in team, although a lot of people get creative. Remember, it is still an A in that there is no I in the middle of it. So, especially for those of you who know what I'm talking about, somebody took the word team and actually colored in the spaces of the A, which obviously make an I. But there is, if you want something from somebody else, you got to work as a team. There are going to be some power struggles because everybody has them. You can't please everybody, but you can come to a compromise that's going to work where both of you will be immensely satisfied, especially in the sexual bedroom. Because if you speak sex, turns up the anticipation, the frustration, your brain thinks more about that instead of you coming and saying, oh geez, okay, we got to go and do this today. If you say, oh, sex, you want to have sex later or something, your brain kind of clicks on. And there at times are sexual power struggles that go on. And one would be how frequent, and probably the biggest one, shall I say, is how frequent you get sex. Some married couples, some couples have been together for a very long time, or even new ones think that, in the beginning, that's that little honeymoon stage. Of course, you're getting a lot of sex because you just can't keep your hands off each other. But that slows down. And now the question comes, well, when do we get it? When are we going to have sex? just because life's problems or life's issues or what's going on in your life have added a few things on does not mean that sex is part of that. Always put time aside. Work the play out. Remember, this is a team sport. Work that play out. Get that gameplay into place. Set aside that space or create that space that is not there for those times where you want to get that energizing sex back, that wild sex back in your life. It is, as you get older, it's either or. You either come to it where the both of you are agreeing, well, sex has slowed down, but you're still enjoying each other. Or the man was, is a little bit, because it has been found that it's the man that really slows it down. It isn't the woman, because men kind of sort of lose their confidence on being able to hold an erection. Yes, women have issues, but women will generally go out there and find out what that problem is before a man does, because they don't want to talk about their penis. They don't want to find out anything's wrong with their willy. Their willy never has a problem. It's always the woman or it's always the partner. No, that's not always true. And that's where that power struggle will come in. It is a no-win situation, so you need to work together with your partner intimately, sensually, all of this, but also be a friend. And that goes both sides. That you got to have that little friendship in there. You got to work out the opposing teams, how it's going to work, as they need to, work out your team, your game plan. Communication, big. Obviously, a lot of power struggles are, if you're in there and you're trying to prove yourself, you're not going to win, you're going to lose. I'll tell you this right now, because you can't really perform under that level of stress and having to have, it's not a pass-fail. It's an enjoyable time to express yourself, to enjoy your partner. You're not going to win. Neither one of you are going to win. You need to embrace your relationship as a whole on every level. And being comfortable with that. There are so many different things that go on sexually, and you know that. It's the touch, it's the intimacy, it's how erotic, it's the actual acts of, putting your penis into her vagina. It's as simple as that. And a lot of people don't stop to look at that. And that's where a lot of the problem comes in. Sex becomes really only defined strictly as intercourse, or looked at as straight intercourse. That's all it is. And getting with men, blue balls, women, we don't have balls, but hey, release of that sexual tension. And because of that, things get centered around that. And it's centered around that one person and not the team as a whole. If you're that one person on that team who's hugging the ball all the time, where does everybody else come into play in this game? They don't. They just sit there and don't do anything, really. The whole idea is to work together. Now, when you are going in for that orgasmic goal, knowing and understanding your partner are individuals, knowing what you want, and experiencing sex with you can be freeing. Knowing that there are different, you're not that person. It doesn't matter how long you've been with that person. That person is not you and you are not them. You are part of each other. that has brought you together as a team. And knowing the different needs and wants of your partner is liberating. And knowing this, because now you can take that, and by this I mean like, okay, you know that your partner occasionally doesn't mind a little BDSM or a little bit of a submission, but it's not going to happen all the time. So that you can, like, say the next time you have sex and you're feeling that extra frisky, maybe then you can do that. But the next time you have it, you just want to really take it slow and work at it and do a little canoodling and culling and all of that stuff and play around with each other. You could be watching a movie, have your hand on each other's pants, and really just masturbate each other until you come to an orgasm. Who's to say it doesn't have to be sex? It could be that's a turn on and the both of you are enjoying it. There's a lot of, if you and your partner build this team between you, it produces very high levels of pleasure for both of you. That desire to be with each other grows. Being overly satisfied with your sexual endeavors, and it being able to have a little eroticism, like there's two sides of that coin from time to time. If you wanted a little rough today, but maybe tomorrow you just want a little bit more slowly, a little bit more caressing, taking your time at it, works on that team and making it a healthy team. It makes sex very, very positive and something that you really want more and more of. And it keeps up how, that beginning of your relationship was. You can get back to that. It just, you got to know when to change gears. You got to know when to change that game plan to work with, shall I say, the ever-changing aspects of your life as your life and sexually. Because your body goes through changes. Everybody knows that your body changes every 7 years. And trying to get in sync, when things do change, is you got to be able to want to do it as well. As a team, together with your partner. Change that game plan. You're going to have to write a new game plan book, whatever, with some moves in there, some plays in there. The playbook is very, very important. It might be one that's just in your head, or one that you've sat down and played a sexual game or discussed, each one of you wrote down on pieces of paper what your fantasies are or what you would like to try now. Because things are changing. To maybe spice up your sex life in the bedroom, you put them into cups, you swap them, and you start reading and see if you come up with the same ones. Well, that works. You might be able to take something that you want to do and something they want to do and actually work it together. These are the things you need to work on, because life doesn't remain the same. So neither does your sex. And they are two different things when you're doing it that way. But there is also if you get to, that sex seems to be overlapping, or the life was overlapping, and they're sometimes put together. If you separate it down and separate the two, your sex life is going to be so much enhanced and much more pleasurable to you and your partner. You gotta be able to accept this sex as a team sport. Remembering that you are both receiving and giving. So who's ever going to be the receiver in the play? Put on the gear. Whoever's going to be the giver, the giving. Remember, give expectations and talk and do all the stuff, but communication should cover both. And don't turn sex into a power struggle, because that's not what it is. It is an enjoyable thing. And remember that having a voice and continuing to work on that team with your partner, finding other ways to spruce it up or try something different, maintains a variety, because then at that point your partner won't know, or you won't know what to expect in the bedroom this time. Not saying that everything is going to work and the game plan must change. Who's to say it might be something that is very uncomfortable for you or your partner, or something, that hurts and it can't be done because they're not they can't just bend in that particular position for you. Find another way to work out that game plan to get to that mutual orgasm, in knowing that this is what both of you want, and you want to continue with this in a positive direction, because sex is a good thing, and if you are a good team, you will have good sex. If you're an amazing team, you'll have amazing sex, but you can build and build and build on that. So you don't need to worry about that too much. And with that being said, fortunately, this is the end of my show for today. As always, please practice safe sex, if not for your partner, for yourself, if not for yourself, for your partner. If you're going to try something new, please, please, please educate, communicate, and very, very important, consent. Very, very important. You don't want to do something and then with no consent, because that's not going to look pretty down the line. So I'd like to thank you again for tuning into the GSMC Sex Podcast, which was brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. Please subscribe to the show and give me 5 stars, a good review. It not only helps me, but it also helps the GSMC Podcast Network to know what to bring to you and how you want to hear your sex advice. But there are also other ways to reach out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, because we are there. Hit that little like. It's either a heart or a thumbs up. Please put your comments in. Let us know what you want to hear, because we are here for you. You support us. And again, thank you. And with that being said, please have a safe and awesome sex night. That's what it is all about. And until next time, bye-bye for now.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast, part of the GSMC Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcasts on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type in GSMC to find all of our shows from the GSMC Podcast Network. From sex and relationships to health and wellness, life and happiness, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's episode of the Golden State Media Concepts Sex Podcast.